The council chamber stretched wide before them, a place built to make visitors feel small. Daniel Harper stood at the center of the circular floor, surrounded by seats that rose up like the walls of a pit. In those seats sat representatives from 40 different species, all watching him with eyes that held no warmth. Ambassador Kelvin Wright stood beside Harper, his face tight with worry. They had been standing here for 3 hours while the council debated humanity's fate. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. Speaker Hun rose from his seat high above them. His scales caught the light as he moved, creating patterns that hurt to look at for too long. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire chamber. "The council has reached its decision," Hun said. "Humanity has been observed for 200 cycles. In that time you have shown nothing but violence and chaos. You fight among yourselves. You destroy your own world. You refuse to follow the laws that keep peace in the galaxy." Wright stepped forward. "We have changed. We have united. We seek only to join the community of worlds and learn from those who came before us." "Your words mean nothing," another council member said. This one looked like a mass of floating tentacles speaking through a device that made its voice sound like grinding metal. "We have records. Every species you meet you try to dominate or deceive. You are not ready for the stars." Harper felt his hands form fists at his sides. He forced them to open again. Getting angry would only prove their point. "Then give us time," Harper said. "Let us prove ourselves we can do better." Hun's expression did not change. The council does not have the luxury of patience. Too many species have been granted that opportunity only to become threats. We will not make that mistake again. The vote came quickly after that. 40 species, 40 voices. 32 voted to exile humanity from civilized space. Only 8 voted to give them another chance. Wright's face went pale. "You cannot do this. We have rights under the Compact of Worlds." "You were never members of the Compact," Hun said. "You have no rights here. However, the Council is not without mercy. We will provide you with transport ships and a world where you may live. You will go to the Outer Rim, to a planet called Refuge 7. There you will stay away from civilized space until such time as you prove worthy of rejoining the galactic community." "And how long will that take?" Wright asked. Hun's smile showed too many teeth. "That is for you to determine, perhaps 1,000 cycles, perhaps never." 2 weeks later, Harper stood on the bridge of an old transport ship, watching Refuge 7 grow larger on the view screen. Behind his ship, 9 others followed, carrying 10,000 human colonists. These were all that remained of humanity's dream of reaching the stars. Everyone else had been forced back to Earth, which now sat behind a blockade of council ships. "Captain, we are getting the first detailed scans," said. She was the chief scientist, a woman who had spent 20 years studying other worlds. Now she looked at the data with growing concern. "The atmosphere is barely breathable in most areas, high levels of toxic compounds, no active ecosystem that we can detect." "Any water?" Harper asked. "Underground sources, possibly, but the surface is dry." Richard Stone, the military commander, studied the tactical display. "I count ruins across 3 continents. Whoever lived here before, they built big, but it all looks abandoned. Old. Thousands of years, maybe." "The council said this was mercy," said quietly. "This is a death sentence." Harper watched the planet turn below them, brown and gray continents. Thin clouds that did nothing to hide the cracked, dry surface. No green anywhere, no blue oceans, just a dead rock at the edge of nothing. "They think we will fail," Harper said. "They think we will beg them to take us back, to give us another chance on their terms." "Maybe we should," someone said. It was one of the junior officers, a young man named. "Captain, we have children on these ships, families. If we land down there, how many will survive the first year?" Harper turned to face his crew. They all looked scared. They had every right to be. "I will not beg," Harper said. "Not to them. They cast us out because they fear what we might become. Let's show them they were right to be afraid." The landing took 6 hours. They brought the ships down near the largest cluster of ruins, hopping to find something useful in the ancient structures. The first colonists to step onto Refuge 7 had to wear breathing masks. The air was thin and smelled like rust and chemicals. Harper was among the first to leave the ship. His boots touched dry soil that crunched under his weight. The sky above was a pale yellow, not the blue of Earth. 2 small moons hung visible even in daylight. Around him, colonists gathered in small groups, staring at the ruins. The ancient buildings rose like broken teeth from the ground, made of a dark stone that seemed to drink in the light. Some structures still stood tall, while others had collapsed into rubble. "Who were they?" asked, standing beside Harper. She held a scanner, taking readings of everything around them. "People like us, maybe," Harper said. "People who came here looking for a new start." "And they died here," said, "or left. Either way, they failed." "Then we will learn from their mistakes." Over the next few days, the colonists worked to set up a basic camp. They used parts from the ships to build shelters. They set up the water purifiers and food processors. They rationed everything because nobody knew how long their supplies would last. On the fifth day, the last council ship left orbit. It had been watching them, making sure they did not try to leave. Now it fired its engines and jumped away, leaving them truly alone. That night, Harper called everyone together. 10,000 people stood in the shadow of alien ruins, under a yellow sky, on a world that did not want them. "They think we will die here," Harper said, his voice carrying in the thin air. "They think we will fade away and be forgotten, but I tell you this, we will not fade, we will not be forgotten. We were cast out because they feared us. Let us build something here that will make that fear real. Let us create a world that future generations will look at and say, this is where it began, this is where humanity refused to die." The colonists cheered, but Harper could hear the fear under their voices. They were scared. He was scared too. But fear had never stopped humans before. It would not stop them now. Harper looked up at the stars, at the galaxy that had rejected them. Somewhere out there, the council sat in their comfortable chambers, already forgetting about the primitive humans they had exiled. 6 months had passed since the ships landed on Refuge 7. Daniel Harper walked through the camp as the yellow sun set behind the ancient ruins. The settlement looked nothing like the temporary camp they had built that first week. Now, real structures stood among the tents, built from salvaged ship parts and stones pulled from collapsed buildings. But it was not enough. It would never be enough. Harper found in what they called the science tent, though it was really just a ship cargo bay they had converted. She sat hunched over a table covered in soil samples and broken pieces of ancient technology. "Any good news?" Harper asked. Looked up, dark circles under her eyes told him she had not slept well. Nobody slept well anymore. "The soil is dead," she said. "Whatever killed this planet, it poisoned everything. We can treat it, add nutrients, but it will take years before we can grow anything without our hydroponic systems." "And how long will those systems last?" "Another year, maybe 2, if we are very careful." Set down the piece of alien metal she had been studying. "Daniel, we are running out of time. Food supplies are at 40%. The water purifiers are breaking down faster than can fix them, and now people are getting sick." Harper had heard. Dr. George Palmer's medical bay now held 20 people, all suffering from respiratory problems caused by the thin, chemical-filled air. The breathing masks helped, but they were not designed for constant use. They broke down and replacement parts were limited. "What about the ruins?" Harper asked. "Have you found anything useful?" Shook her head. "Whoever built this place, they were advanced, very advanced, but everything is dead. No power sources, no working machines, just stone and metal that has been sitting here for thousands of years." A commotion outside made them both turn. Harper heard shouting, then the sound of running feet. He pushed through the tent flap and saw people gathering near the water distribution center. Helen, the security chief, stood in the center of a crowd. She was a tall woman with arms that showed the muscle of someone who had spent years in military service. Right now, those arms held back 2 men who looked ready to fight. "What is going on here?" Harper demanded. "They are hoarding water," one of the men shouted. He was thin, like everyone had become after 6 months of rationing. "I saw them taking extra rations for their family." "That is a lie," the other man said. "We take only what we are given." Looked at Harper. "I checked their tent. They have 3 extra containers. That is water that should have gone to the medical bay." The crowd murmured, angry sounds, scared sounds, people who knew that every drop of water mattered. Harper felt tired, so very tired. "Is this true?" he asked the accused man. The man looked at the ground. "My daughter is sick. The air, it hurts her lungs. She needs water to help her breathe better." "So do the 20 people in the medical bay," Harper said quietly. "So do all of us." He turned to, "Take the extra water to Palmer, but no punishment. We are all scared. We all want to protect our families." "That is not fair," someone in the crowd shouted. "Rules have to mean something." "You are right," Harper said. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Rules do mean something, but so does understanding. We did not come here to turn on each other. The Council wants us to fail. They want us to tear ourselves apart. Every time we fight among ourselves, we prove them right." The crowd slowly dispersed, but Harper could feel their anger. It hung in the air like the chemical smell that never went away. That night, a solar storm hit. Had warned them it was coming, but there was little they could do. The storm fried half their water purification units and damaged several power generators. By morning, they had enough clean water for maybe 2 weeks. Palmer's medical bay filled up quickly after that. People drank contaminated water because they had no choice. They got sick. Some of them died. Harper stood beside a small grave as they buried the first casualty. A woman named Collins, who had been a teacher back on Earth. She had survived the exile, survived 6 months on a dead planet, only to die from bad water. "We cannot keep going like this," said. He stood beside Harper, his hands stained with grease from trying to fix equipment that was beyond repair. "The systems are failing. I can patch them, but each time it gets harder. We need parts we do not have. We need technology we do not have." "Then we make it," Harper said. "Make it from what?" "Captain, we have rocks and dead machines. I am an engineer, not a magician." A young voice interrupted them. "What about the channels?" They turned to see Amy Foster, a girl of maybe 12 years old. She was thin like everyone else, her clothes too big for her shrinking frame, but her eyes were bright. "What channels?" asked. She had joined them at the grave. Amy pointed toward the ruins. "In the old buildings. There are channels cut into the stone. They run deep down into the ground. I saw them yesterday when I was exploring." "Frowned, show us." The girl led them through the ruins to a building that still stood mostly intact. Inside, the walls showed the same dark stone as everything else, but Amy was right. Channels had been carved into the floor, running in complex patterns toward a central chamber. Knelt down, running her hand along one channel. "This is too precise to be natural. It is a system of some kind." "For what?" asked. "Water," said, excitement creeping into her voice. "Look at how smooth the stone is. Water flowed through here for a long time. The ancient people, they used this to move and filter water." "But there is no water here now," Harper said. "Not on the surface," agreed. "But Amy, you said these go deep." The girl nodded. "I followed one down some stairs. It goes really far." Over the next week, they explored the underground sections of the ruins. What they found changed everything. Deep beneath the surface, protected from the disaster that had killed the world above, they discovered caverns filled with water. Not just water, but entire underground ecosystems. Plants that glowed with their own light. Insects that had evolved in the darkness. Mineral deposits that sparkled in their flashlight beams. And more ruins, even older than the ones above. These still had some technology that worked, powered by geothermal energy that had lasted thousands of years. Spent 3 days examining everything they found. When she finally emerged from the depths, she looked like she had seen a miracle. "They tried to save themselves," she told Harper. "The people who lived here, when the surface started dying, they moved underground. They built all of this to survive." "But they did not survive," Harper said. "No," agreed. "But they left us everything we need to do what they could not. These caverns have water, they have minerals, they have energy. We can use the stone channels to bring water to the surface. We can grow food using the plants down there. We can rebuild." Harper looked at the data had gathered. He thought about Collins and the others who had died. He thought about the Council, sitting in their comfortable chambers, certain that humanity would fail. "Then that is what we will do," Harper said. "We will rebuild, not just to survive, but to prove that being cast out was not our end. It was our beginning." Studied the ancient technology with new eyes. "I can work with this," he said. "I can adapt it, combine what they built with what we brought. Captain, we might actually make it." 1 year after landing on Refuge 7, Daniel Harper no longer recognized the settlement. Where tents had stood, now real buildings rose from the ground. They were strange structures, combining human engineering with ancient alien architecture. But they worked. They kept people safe and dry. The colony had a name now. New Haven. It felt right somehow. The colony's geologist burst into Harper's office without knocking. His face was covered in dust, and he was breathing hard. Captain, you need to see this, right now. Harper stood up from his desk, was normally a calm man not given to excitement. What did you find? Just come, bring. 20 minutes later, Harper and followed deep into the cavern system. They had explored much of it over the past year, but the caves went deeper than anyone had imagined. Led them through passages that grew narrower and darker until they reached a section that looked different from the rest. The walls here were not natural stone. They were smooth, made of the same dark material as the ruins above, and they were covered in symbols. Writing, breathed, she moved closer, her light playing across the strange characters. This is their language, the people who lived here. There is more, said. He led them through a doorway into a chamber that made them all stop and stare. The room was huge, easily 50 meters across. The walls curved up to form a dome overhead, but what caught their attention were the objects inside. Machines, still intact after thousands of years, terminals with dark screens, and at the center a column of crystal that reached from floor to ceiling. I did not touch anything, said. I came straight to get you. Approached one of the terminals carefully. Needs to see this, and we need power. It took 2 days to figure out how to connect their portable generators to the ancient systems. When he finally made the connection, the terminal hummed to life. Lights flickered across its surface, and the crystal column began to glow with a soft blue light. Characters appeared on the screen, the same symbols from the walls. Can you read it? Harper asked. Shook her head. Not yet, but look, there are patterns, repetition. This is data, a lot of data. They spent weeks in that chamber, brought her entire science team. They worked in shifts, never leaving the room dark. Slowly, they began to understand. The language was complex, but it followed rules. With enough time and patience, those rules became clear, and once they could read even a little, the ancient computers helped them learn more. The systems were designed to teach, to preserve knowledge. 1 month after finding the chamber, called everyone together. Harper, George Palmer, Helen, and the senior staff all gathered around the main terminal. I know who they were, said. Her voice shook slightly. The people who lived here, they called themselves the architects, and they were not the first ones on this planet. She brought up images on the screen, cities that made their ruins look small, ships that could cross between stars, technology that seemed like magic. They were exiled, continued, just like us. Thousands of years ago, there was another council, different species, but the same fear. The architects were too smart, too creative, too dangerous, so they were sent here to this world to die and be forgotten. Harper felt cold. They tried to survive. They did more than try, said. They succeeded for a while. They terraformed the surface, built cities. They were here for 3,000 years. She paused. But then something went wrong. Their terraforming failed. The atmosphere began to break down. Toxins from deep underground started seeping up. They tried to fix it, but the damage was too great. So they moved underground, said. Nodded. They built these caverns as a refuge. They thought they could wait until the surface recovered, but it never did. And slowly their population declined. Equipment broke down, people died, until finally there was no one left. Silence filled the chamber. Harper thought about all the bones they had found in the deeper caves, all the empty chambers. An entire civilization had died here, alone and forgotten. But they left us something, said. She pressed a control and new data appeared. Before they died, they recorded everything, their science, their technology, their mistakes. It is all here, everything they learned, everything they built. They left it as a warning and as a gift. A warning, asked. They thought others might come, others who were exiled like they were. They wanted those people to learn from their failures. Eyes were bright. And they succeeded. I have spent the last week reading their terraforming research. I know why their planet died, and I know how to prevent it from happening again. Leaned forward. Can we fix the surface? Eventually, yes, but it will take decades, maybe longer. The good news is, we do not have to. The architects developed fusion technology far beyond what the current Galactic Council uses. They created genetic treatments that helped their bodies adapt to hostile environments. They built manufacturing systems that can create almost anything from basic materials. She looked around at all of them. Everything we need to not just survive, but to thrive, it is all here, in these databases. Palmer spoke up. How much of this technology can we actually use? Most of it, said. The architects were generous with their knowledge. They included detailed instructions, step-by-step guides. They knew whoever found this would probably be starting from nothing. She smiled. They thought of everything except one thing. What? Harper asked. They thought whoever found their legacy would make the same mistakes they did. They were alone, isolated, afraid. They turned inward and stopped innovating. They gave up. Looked at Harper. But we are not going to do that, are we? Harper thought about the past year, the struggles, the losses, but also the victories, the way his people had worked together, adapting and learning, the way young Amy Foster had found the water channels, the way had combined old technology with new ideas. No, Harper said, we are not going to give up. We are going to use what the architects left us. We are going to build on their knowledge and create something new, something they never imagined. Over the following months, New Haven transformed, adapted architect fusion designs to power the entire colony. Palmer used their medical knowledge to create treatments that helped colonists breathe easier in the thin air. Farms were built in the caverns using the glowing plants, enhanced with architect genetic techniques to produce more food. The settlement above ground grew larger and stronger. Buildings rose higher, made with manufacturing systems that turned stone and minerals into materials stronger than steel. Children attended schools in chambers that had once been empty ruins. Water flowed through restored ancient channels, clean and pure. Lisa Grant, the communications officer, made an important discovery in the database. The architects had built observation stations in orbit, hidden from casual scans. Some were still operational, powered by the same long-lasting energy sources that kept the underground systems running. We can watch the galaxy, Grant told Harper. See what is happening in Council space. They will never know we are looking. Harper approved the project. If they were going to survive long-term, they needed to know what was happening beyond their small world. 3 years had passed since humanity was exiled to Refuge 7. Daniel Harper stood on top of the tallest building in New Haven, looking out at a settlement that no longer resembled the desperate camp they had started with. The colony stretched across the valley below, a mix of human and architect architecture that created something entirely new. Fusion reactors hummed deep underground, providing power for 15,000 people. The population had grown through births, children who knew no other home than this world. The air processors worked day and night, slowly cleaning the atmosphere in their immediate area. People still wore breathing aids, but lighter ones than before. George Palmer estimated that in another 5 years, the air in the colony would be safe to breathe without any help. Governor, a voice said behind him. Harper turned to see Lisa Grant approaching. She still served as communications officer, but her role had expanded greatly since they discovered the architect orbital stations. I do not think I will ever get used to that title, Harper said. You were voted in fair and square, Grant said. The people wanted you to lead officially, not just practically. Harper shrugged. What do you have for me? Contact. A ship entered the outer system an hour ago. Small, looks like a trader. They are broadcasting on open channels, asking if anyone is here. This was new. In 3 years, no one from the galaxy had come to check on them. The council had clearly decided they were dead or dying and not worth the effort. Are they armed? Harper asked. Scanning now. Helen says it has got weapons, but nothing serious. Definitely not a warship. Grant paused. Governor, they are asking for permission to land. They say they come in peace. Harper considered. Tell them yes, but have ready with security teams, and let's meet them at the main landing pad. An hour later, a small ship touched down on the reinforced pad that New Haven used for their own atmospheric craft. The ship was old and patched, the kind of vessel that had seen too many repairs and not enough upgrades. Its hull was painted with symbols that Harper did not recognize. The airlock opened and a figure emerged. It was small, maybe 1.5 meters tall, with gray skin and large eyes that took up much of its face. It wore a simple jumpsuit and carried no visible weapons. The alien stopped at the bottom of the ramp and looked around at New Haven with clear shock. Its mouth opened and closed several times before it found its voice. By the stars, it said in accented but understandable English. The reports were true, humans did survive. Harper stepped forward. I am Governor Daniel Harper, welcome to New Haven. The alien made a gesture that might have been a bow. I am independent trader. I must admit I did not expect this. It waved a hand at the buildings, the lights, the people moving about their business. The stories said you were sent here to die. We were, Harper said. We chose not to. Laughed a sound like wind chimes. I can see that. May I ask, what are you willing to trade? Over the next few hours, toward New Haven. The aliens' shock grew with everything it saw. The fusion reactors, the advanced manufacturing systems, the medical facilities, the schools where human children studied alongside computers that taught them mathematics and science at levels beyond what the Council academies offered. Finally, sat in Harper's office, holding a cup of tea made from plants grown in the underground caverns. I must be honest with you, Governor, said. I came here expecting to find ruins and maybe a few survivors. Instead, I find a city that rivals anything in Council space. How? We learned from those who came before us, Harper said. He decided there was no point in lying. The architects left behind their knowledge. We built on it. Nearly dropped the cup. The architects, but they were lost thousands of years ago. The Council destroyed all records of them. Why, asked. She had joined them for the meeting. Because the architects discovered something the Council did not want known, said quietly. They found proof that the Council's dominant species have been suppressing advanced technology for centuries, keeping other species dependent and weak. The architects were exiled because they would not stop sharing what they learned. Harper and exchanged looks. That matched what they had found in the databases. You risk much by telling us this, Harper said. Made a gesture of dismissal. I am a small trader, no one important, and besides, things are changing in Council space. More species are questioning the old rules. There are whispers of rebellion. That is why you came here, said. You wanted to see if humans had really survived, and if we had something that could help. Yes, admitted. And I see that you do. May I ask, would you be willing to trade some of your goods? I can offer information, supplies, connections to other traders who are sympathetic to your situation. Harper considered carefully. This was a risk. If the Council learned that New Haven had advanced technology, they might send warships. But hiding forever was not an option either. What kind of goods are you interested in? Harper asked. Medical supplies, said immediately. There is a plague spreading through the outer colonies. Council medicine is not helping, but if your medical technology is as advanced as everything else I have seen. Palmer spoke up. We have developed treatments based on architect knowledge, genetic therapies that boost natural immune systems. I believe they would work on most species. We will trade, Harper decided. Medicine for information and for one other thing. Name it, said. Spread the word, Harper said. Tell other species that humanity survived. Tell them we are here. Tell them that if they are cast out, if they are exiled or oppressed, New Haven will welcome them. His large eyes grew even larger. You would take in refugees from other species. The architects taught us that knowledge is meant to be shared, said. That civilization grows stronger through cooperation, not isolation. If other species want to join us, build with us, learn with us, they are welcome. Over the next 6 months, return twice more. Each time, the trader brought goods to exchange for New Haven's medicine and advanced materials, but more importantly, brought news. Word was spreading through the outer colonies. The exiled humans had not died. They had built something remarkable. Species that had been oppressed by the Council began to look toward the outer rim with hope. Then one day, a different ship arrived. This one was larger, carrying families. They were people, 300 of them, fleeing persecution in Council space. We heard your governor's offer, their leader said. We hope it still stands. Harper looked at the families, at children who reminded him of human kids, scared and hopeful at the same time. It stands, he said. Welcome to New Haven. More ships came after that, small groups at first, then larger ones. Species Harper had never seen before, all seeking refuge from the Council's increasingly harsh rule. New Haven grew from a human colony into something else. A community where different species worked together, sharing knowledge and building toward a common future. Adapted architect manufacturing to create habitats suitable for different species' needs. Scientists learned alien medicine and taught their own techniques in return. Children from a dozen different worlds attended school together, learning in ways the Council had never allowed. Helen trained security teams that included members from 5 different species. They kept the peace and watched the orbital sensors for any sign of Council warships. One evening, Harper stood again on the tall building, watching the settlement below. Lights from 100 different homes glowed in the growing darkness. Some of those homes were human. Others housed aliens who had found sanctuary here. Amy Foster, now 15, and studying engineering under, joined him on the roof. "Governor, do you think the council knows what we have built here?" she asked. "Probably," Harper said. "Says the rumors are widespread now, they must have heard." "Will they come to destroy us?" Harper looked at the young woman. She had been just a child when they landed, scared and hungry. Now she was confident, educated, working on projects that would have amazed the best council engineers. "Maybe," Harper said honestly. "But if they do, they will find we are not the desperate exiles they remember. We are strong now, and we are not alone." 5 years after humanity's exile, Daniel Harper received the message he had been expecting and dreading. A council warship had entered the outer system. Lisa Grant brought him the data in his office, which now overlooked a new haven that bore little resemblance to the desperate colony of the early days. 25,000 people lived here now. 2/3 were human. The rest came from 17 different species, all refugees from council oppression. "It is the righteous judgment," Grant said, reading from her tablet. "Heavy cruiser, 50 crew, armed with plasma weapons and boarding craft." "Just one ship?" Helen asked. She stood by the window, arms crossed. "So far," Grant said, "but sensors show 3 more ships holding position at the edge of the system. They are watching." Harper considered this. "They are testing us, seeing how we respond." A message came through on the main channel. The face that appeared on the screen was familiar. Speaker Hun, looking older but no less arrogant than Harper, remembered. "Humans of Refuge 7, Hun said. "The Council has become aware of your unauthorized expansion. You were exiled with specific restrictions. You have violated those restrictions by harboring fugitives from Council justice and by developing prohibited technologies." "Prohibited by whom?" Harper asked, though he knew Hun could not hear him yet. The transmission was one way. "A delegation will land in 6 hours, Hun continued. "You will surrender all advanced technology and hand over all non-human residents for return to Council space. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your settlement. You have been warned." The transmission ended. Turned to Harper. "We need to prepare defenses." "No," Harper said, "we do not." "Governor, they have a warship." "And we have something better," Harper said. "We have the truth. Get Ambassador Wright on the communication channel. It is time he came home." Kelvin Wright had never stopped fighting for humanity. Even after the exile, he had remained in Council space, arguing humanity's case to anyone who would listen. Most ignored him, but some listened, and over 5 years, that sum had grown into many. 6 hours later, the Council delegation landed. But they did not land alone. 3 other ships came down with them, all bearing the marks of species that had secretly opposed the exile. Hun emerged from his shuttle with an armed escort. He stopped when he saw New Haven spread before him, buildings that reached toward the sky, lights powered by fusion, people from multiple species working side by side, children playing in parks that should not exist on this dead world. "What is this?" Hun demanded. "This is what you tried to destroy," Harper said, walking forward to meet him. "This is what happens when you cast people out and expect them to die quietly." Kelvin Wright stepped out from one of the other ships. The old ambassador looked tired but determined. "Speaker Hun, I have brought representatives from 12 council species. They are here to witness what humanity has built." Other aliens emerged from the ships. Some Harper recognized from old council recordings. Others were new faces, but all of them looked at New Haven with wonder. Hun's scales flushed dark with anger. "This is illegal. Humans were exiled with restrictions. These technologies are forbidden." "Forbidden by you?" a new voice said. One of the alien representatives stepped forward. It was tall and with multiple arms and compound eyes. "I am representative of the Hive Worlds. My people have long questioned the Council's restrictions on technology. Now I see why. You feared this. You feared that exiled species might discover what you have hidden." "The architects," another representative said. This one was covered in fur and walked on 4 legs. "We heard rumors that humanity found architect ruins, that they learned the truth." "What truth?" Hun demanded. Stepped forward, carrying a data tablet. The truth that the Council has been suppressing advanced technology for 3,000 years. The truth that species like the architects, who developed beyond what you deemed acceptable, were exiled or destroyed. The truth that you keep the galaxy weak and divided so you can maintain control. She held up the tablet. We have the architect databases, all of them, their complete history including records of their interactions with the Council, records you claimed were destroyed. Hun's expression shifted to something like fear. Those records are classified. They were, Harper said. But we are not part of your council. We were cast out, remember. Your laws do not apply to us. Then we will destroy you, Hun said. My warship alone can level this entire settlement. Try it, Helen said. She had appeared on a nearby roof with a device in her hands. We have had 5 years to study architect defensive systems. Your ship's weapons will not penetrate our shields. It was a bluff, mostly. They had shields, but whether they could stop a full warship assault was uncertain, but delivered the line with such confidence that Hun hesitated. Representative moved closer to, this data, you would share it. With anyone who wants it, said. That is what the architects intended. Knowledge should be free. Technology should be available to all species who can use it responsibly. This is madness, Hun said. If every species has access to advanced technology, there will be chaos. No, Wright said quietly. There will be freedom, the freedom to grow beyond what you have allowed, the freedom to develop without artificial limits. The other representatives gathered around tablet, examining the data. Harper watched their faces change as they realized what they were seeing, proof of everything the Council had, technologies that could solve problems plaguing their worlds, medical advances that could save millions of lives. We want this, said. All of it, we want to join you. So do we, another representative said. One by one, the gathered aliens turned away from Hun and toward Harper. The Speaker of the Council stood alone, his escort looking uncertain. You are making a terrible mistake, he said. The Council will not allow this rebellion. The Council can try to stop us, Harper said. But we are no longer alone, we are no longer weak, and we are no longer afraid. Wright stepped beside Harper. Speaker Hun, I propose a new organization, a federation of free species based on cooperation rather than control. Species who want to join the old council can stay, but those who want something better have another choice now. This is treason, Hun said. This is evolution, Wright replied. Over the following weeks, 7 species formally from the Galactic Council to join what became known as the Free Federation. New Haven became its capital, a symbol of what could be built from exile and desperation. More species followed. Some stayed with the Council out of fear or comfort with the old ways, but the balance of power had shifted. Harper stood in the same chamber where the architects had left their legacy. The crystal column glowed softly, as it always did. Amy Foster was there too, now 20 years old and the Federation's youngest chief engineer. Do you think the architects knew? Amy asked. That someone would find their work and use it to change everything. I think they hoped, Harper said. They were cast out and forgotten just like us, but they left behind a gift, a chance for the next exiles to do better. We did better, Amy said. We did not just survive, we built something that will last. Harper nodded. Through the doorway, he could see the settlement above. Human and alien children played together in the streets. Scientists from a dozen species worked side by side in the laboratories. Ships came and went, bringing new members to the Federation. The Council wanted to destroy us because they feared what we might become, Harper said. They were right to fear, but not because we were dangerous, because we were different, because we believed that being cast out did not have to mean being defeated. What happens now? Amy asked. Harper smiled. Now we show the galaxy what happens when you give people freedom instead of chains, when you share knowledge instead of hoarding it, when you build together instead of alone. The architects would be proud, Amy said. They should be, Harper said, looking at the glowing crystal. They gave us the tools. We gave them the legacy they deserved. Together we built something neither could have created alone. Outside, the yellow sun of Refuge 7 set behind the mountains, but New Haven's lights blazed bright against the darkness. A beacon for the lost, a home for the exiled, a promise that being cast out and forgotten was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Amy smiled. Good, because I have plans for this place, big plans, and I am not going to let anyone stop me. Harper laughed. That was humanity in a nutshell. Cast out to die, they had built paradise. Told to be forgotten, they had become a beacon of hope, and now they were just getting started. One night, Harper stood in the main chamber with. They watched the crystal column glow, its light reflecting off the smooth walls. They wanted to be remembered, Harper said quietly. The architects, they left all of this because they did not want to disappear without a trace. They will be remembered, said. Every time we use their technology, every time we build something new based on their knowledge, we honor them. They did not fail. They just ran out of time. Harper nodded. Then we will give them what they never had. We will take their legacy and carry it forward, not just for us, but for everyone who comes after. The crystal hummed softly, as if in agreement. Somewhere in its depths, the knowledge of an entire civilization waited, and humanity, cast out and forgotten, was ready to learn. We will make it, Harper said. He looked at Amy Foster, the girl who had found the channels. Our children will grow up here. They will have water and food and air they can breathe. And someday, when we are strong enough, we will show the galaxy what humanity can build from nothing. The colonists began the hard work of bringing the underground resources to the surface. It was not easy. It was never easy. But for the first time since landing on Refuge 7, Harper felt something other than fear. He felt hope. That was fine, let them forget. Humans had long memories, and they had just begun to write a new chapter.